Hello, welcome to the video. I'm going to be checking out the RTX 4090 on the Ark Survival Ascended. It's a new remastered Unreal Engine 5 version of the original Ark game. So it should be quite interesting to see. I'm going to be doing it at 4K. We've got everything set to Epic down here. So it's recommending at least a 4070 or up. So, and then we've also got DLSS on, frame generation on, and DLSS set to quality. So we should get some fairly decent frames with this. Seems like, though, it's just about holding 60, which is kind of crazy. This game, though, from just a quick look, I mean, it looks like one of the best Unreal Engine 5 looking games I think I've seen so far. That's actually been released. I know there's a lot of games that aren't released yet that do also look insane, but this is the first released Unreal Engine 5 game that I think it probably looks the best that I've seen, I think. I mean, look at it. It looks crazy. But performance-wise, a little bit disappointing. I mean, we're not even getting 60 here with DLSS and frame generation on, which is crazy. Kind of, I guess, somewhat understandable the way the game looks. I mean, it looks really good, so obviously that is going to mess your performance up, but it's a shame we cannot really hold 60. But performance-wise, I mean, VRAMs, it's actually VRAMs quite high for Unreal Engine 5 game. I mean, I'd expect to maybe see about 10 to 11 gigs, so slightly higher than that, or at 14. But obviously, that's a lot lower than a game in another engine would be looking like this, for sure. Let's try and find some stone or something. Power consumption as well is pretty decent, between 300 and 350, so overall, in terms of actual usage on hardware, it's not too bad. Not too crazy. But obviously FPS-wise, is not that amazing. But yeah, I've seen a lot of reviews on this game, and it wasn't too good. I think 6 out of 10 it was getting. I imagine there's probably a lot of complaints over performance. I mean, if I'm struggling this much on a 4090, there's, like, I imagine a lot of hardware struggling big time. These graphics in the distance here, it looks crazy good. Look at that. It definitely is an upgrade graphically. 100%. I've noticed a bit of pop-in though, and some lighting weirdness like we saw there. Where it's almost like it's blocked by the tree. The way it kind of loads. Looks a little bit weird. This kind of does remind me of most of the other Unreal Engine 5 releases we've had so far, which has all been very, very low FPS. You know, we're looking at day one, 30 to 40 FPS at 4K on a 4090 in a lot of the games. I think the finals is probably the best I've seen, I think, out of all the Unreal Engine 5 games. They've all been quite bad, performance-wise. I think they've all looked pretty good, but performance has all been really bad on most of them. It'd be crazy to see if the Ark 2, I guess they're probably developing that in Unreal Engine 5, are they? I'm not actually entirely sure. That'll look crazy. Hopefully they learn a lot from this, the performance on this, and we get a bit of a better performing game with Ark 2. Look at these graphics here, though. They look crazy. Look at that. I'm going to try out native 4K now, so if we switch this off and we switch frame generation off, hopefully that doesn't crash. I mean, it's going to be very, very low FPS, but we're at 4K here with everything epic. Resolution scale is actually lower. I'm getting attacked. So we obviously want to set that to 4K. 100%. So yeah, look at that. 38 FPS. So actually very similar to Unreal Engine 5 games we've seen so far, really. 30 to 40 FPS at 4K has been the kind of performance we've seen, really. Here we go. But yeah, this is definitely going to cause a lot of problems, I imagine, for lower end cards, definitely. As great as the game looks, I'm sure people will not too impressed by the performance. Hasn't really changed our VRAM too much. I think power usage has gone up a little bit. But overall, in terms of the actual usage of the hardware, it's still not too bad. It's just that frame rate. Mainly. I think, with frame generation on, I think, feel the latency a little bit, but that would obviously be because our FPS is quite low before we switch it on, so therefore the latency, always run into the risk of having a little bit of latency with frame generation on. It wasn't terrible. I think for a game like this it's probably okay, but just so you're aware. Can have a little look around. So yeah, I don't normally really play games like this that much. I've played the first one a little bit. I'd definitely check out the second game. I know they're working on that, but it's not really something that I normally play. Got a pretty choppy looking frame time here as well. Doesn't stutter too badly though. I'd say in terms of image quality, it's not too bad with switching DLSS on. Native, there's not a massive difference between the two. Very, very good looking game though. I'm just going to take a look and see what the most frames we can push out with. So I've set it down to DLSS Ultra Performance with frame generation on, so we're still at 4K with everything maxed. I was kind of curious to see roughly how many we could get with that. Obviously at quality, we could barely hold 60, but it doesn't look like it's really giving us that much more than that. Image quality is definitely worse with this preset. Definitely loses the that edge graphically. Doesn't quite look quite as good. Looks a little bit blurry, but getting about 90 FPS here. It just didn't look at first. It was getting about 70 to 80, which didn't look that much better. Frame time looks better. Probably get less like the lows probably aren't quite as bad for sure. So it's obviously smoother running with this, but image quality just isn't really that great. Power's come down about another 50 watts as well, so using about 300. There's a little boat here. Big stutter there, and I thought the game was going to crash. I had a couple of crashes on this. Another image to me just looks weird. Keeps shaking. Yeah, I've had a couple of crashes on this game, so... And now for some reason the frame time's not looking as good as it was a second ago. Looking a little bit worse. But yeah, feeling the latency here with frame generation on a little bit when I'm moving like this. I don't want to fall down there. But that's because without frame generation on right now, we're hitting about the kind of 30 to 40 FPS, which is kind of right at the boundary of where you really want to be without frame generation. So if you switch that on, you do sometimes get latency with those frames like that. That's going to be it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to drop a like on the video, leave me a comment, and I'll catch you next time.